Hello and welcome back to Canvas Conversations. My guest today will be making his first appearance on the show. He trains out of Hard Knocks 365. He is undefeated Titan FC heavyweight Steven Mowry. Good morning, Steve. How you doing, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
Not too bad, man. I see you got your Starbucks this morning. I know you're a coffee guy. What are you drinking?
It's just a Venti blonde with room for cream kind of thing. I like to keep it simple. I'm not big I used to be into the frilly, like the drinks with all the sweet stuff in it, but dialed back in my manhood. Had to turn into something. Had to keep it short and simple.
You're not drinking black coffee though, are you?
Mm-mm. I'm not a big black guy. I like the Cuban coffees they serve down here in Florida though. It's black. It has this like really sweet I don't know what they put in it. It's probably just a ton of sugar, but this like real black. It's black and it's this real sweet like cream or something in it, but it's dope and it's like the most potent coffee that they serve down here without having to order it.
Yeah, I noticed on your Instagram you put, I drink all the coffee.
I drink all the coffee.
That's awesome. So, big coffee guy, what's your favorite coffee brand?
Brand, like store bought or like coffee shop.
Either one. Either one.
Um, I mean, if I'm just in a rush trying to grab some coffee, I definitely Starbucks is probably my first choice. But if I'm trying to get a little flavor in there, I like Dunkin' for like all the different things you can throw in there, like the hazelnuts and the French vanillas and all that. That's my friend DeMarcos Jackson. He's a Titan guy. Whenever him and I get together, we always make time in our routine for Dunkin' wherever we're going. We go to church together on Sundays, so we always make 15 minutes on the early side for coffee.
Oh, that's cool. Awesome. You need to get you a coffee sponsor, bro.
Yeah, I do. I know that my teammate's sponsored by Caveman Coffee. If they're interested in putting something together, call me.
Yeah, shout out to Caveman Coffee, right?
Yes, shout to Caveman, right?
Awesome, man. Well, Steve, I'm curious to get us started. How did you get started in MMA?
Um, well, I'd always kind of known about it. Like I'd always like seen the promos and stuff, but I didn't know exactly what it was. But I read about it in a magazine one day, and I thought it was just the coolest thing. I mean, I knew obviously about boxing, about wrestling, about jiu-jitsu, about all that stuff, but then like I didn't really know what it was all about until I read about it. And it was like a Men's Health article, and I don't know. I just thought it was super interesting. I thought it was really cool how it just seemed like the harder these guys worked, the better that they did. And up to that point in my life, I didn't really have anything like that. I didn't really have something where I could strive towards it every day. I didn't really have anything that you could get out of it, what you put into it. So it was just strange. Like the second I heard about it, I knew I wanted to do it.
How old were you when you picked up that magazine?
Uh, I can't remember, probably like 16, 17, somewhere in there.
Okay, so did you wrestle at all in high school or anything like that?
hmm I started wrestling my junior year and kept it all the way through when I graduated.
So wrestling is your first discipline, you'd say?
Um, well, see, so wrestling would probably be my first discipline, but like jujitsu was what I focused on the most before I made the transition to MMA. Yeah. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I really focused on my wrestling, even up through whenever I picked up jujitsu. But yeah, I'd probably say jujitsu is my first like real discipline, but jujitsu is probably my first love, but wrestling was my first discipline.
So when did it start becoming a career for you?
Um, Call it strange, but like I kind of always knew that I wanted to be good at it. So even my first couple sessions, I remember telling my parents like, "Yeah, this is what I'm going to do," and they both kind of thought it was crazy, and especially my dad. Like my dad's a my dad's taught math in colleges. My mom has her BSN, so like they both kind of thought it was weird and strange that I just wanted to fight people in a cage. They both thought that I was going to go the college route. So um, I knew it was going to be a career for me whenever I finished high school and I started doing like the real training, and I joined college. Like I said, so I was towards the end of my first semester, and I realized like I was in a community college and I had good grades, but I knew that at some point in my life I'd be able to look back, and no matter what happened in my career, I'd be able to look back after a full career of martial arts or mixed martial arts and fighting or prize fighting and be like, I'd be able to look back and say, okay, well now it's time to go back to school. Then look back after a full regular career, like a desk job or whatever I was thinking I was going to end up doing at that point. And look back and be like, man, I really could have been something special if I would have struck while the iron was hot, sort of thing.
Right. So what kept you motivated to keep showing up in the beginning when your parents weren't kind of supporting you during that time?
I don't know. I just felt called to do it, to be honest with you. It was weird. Like, it was something I was really passionate about right off the rip. And I had other things that I liked, but it was the first thing that I was really passionate about. It was just something God put in my heart to do from the beginning. And I don't really know how else to explain it. I never had anything like that before. I never had anything that, whenever I woke up in the morning, it was all I could think about. And so even whenever my parents, I didn't make a habit of going against what my parents did or told me to do, going against it anyway. So especially whenever it came to this, it was just as strange coming out of my mouth as it is, I'm sure, for you to hear it. But like, I really just kind of did my thing, even whenever that they had asked me not to, or whenever they had advised that it probably wasn't the wisest decision. I just knew in my heart that this is what I was going to do, and ended up working out for me.
Amazing, brother. So who are some of your role models that got you into the MMA sport?
My wrestling coach, my high school wrestling coach, was one of the first people that really pushed me to kind of do this. So he had two sons that were both pretty successful wrestlers, and my mom would always complain to him about how I didn't want to go to college, how I didn't want to. She was trying to talk him into talking me out of it, which didn't go over at all. He kind of told her, like, no, look, like, he's young and he's only going to be able to do this one time in his life, and it's now. So, if you're not going to support him, just kind of try to stay out of his way. And God bless my mom. Like, that's never something I would tell her to her face. And I always respect what she has to say. But I would say my wrestling coach was probably the first person that really gave me a kick in the ass out the door. In terms of fighters that I look up to, I really like Jose Aldo. I really like Chris Weidman, which is ironic because I train with Luke Rockhold now. But I really like, and then even outside of them, I try to model after certain fighters from other sports. So I really like, I like Badr Hari a lot. I like Vladimir Klitschko. I like, in the jiu-jitsu world, there's a lot of guys I model after in the jiu-jitsu world. I always try to take little things here and there from all the other sports. So I could go on for days probably about it.
That's awesome, man. So how long have you been at Hard Knocks?
Well, I've been at Hard Knocks since it started. I came down here being Florida. I moved here 2 years ago. 2 years ago, as of last month, moved down here. After I'd signed with the Black Zillions, I put pen to paper. I flew home, threw all my stuff in the car, and drove back. So that was, like I said, 2 years ago. I was with the Black Zillions really up until they kind of, whenever the big schism happened there. We went up to Combat Club, and we were there for a little while. And then Henry started his venture down here back in, I had been in here doing training sessions here. This is Hard Knocks right here. Give it a shameless plug real quick.
Yeah, there you go.
But no, I'd been here since July doing mitts or little sessions here and there. But we opened it to the fighters in like mid-August, and then we opened it to like everybody in early September. So really since the beginning, since this was all it was all unpainted walls and concrete floors, I was in here doing stuff.
And you're a kickboxing coach there, is that correct?
Yes, I'm a kickboxing instructor here.
How long have you been doing that?
I started doing that in, I want to say, November, whenever I started teaching for Henry.
So did you have a job before that outside of fighting? Before you
were kickboxing? I still do too. I work security on the weekends at different bars and clubs.
Oh, okay. A big guy like you, they need you, man.
I kind of just fit right in. I've been doing it since I started doing it when I was 20. So it's just one of those things where, like, it's kind of all the same. It's the same routine over and over and over again. Just the places and the people change.
Right. Do you have any cool stories from bouncing or being the doorman?
I could go on for days. Some of the crazy things that have happened to me while I was bouncing.
You got any quick short ones that you could share?
I don't know. Just lots of different. It's a lot of little things. Like I can think of times where like a couple weeks ago, some guy dumped ice on me. Okay, I'm at work, and some guy he's in the VIP section. And whenever you buy a VIP section at this club I'm at, you're basically untouchable. So, but the only 3 rules that you have are you can't smoke or vape inside, you can't put your feet on the table, and you can't wear a hat. You can't wear it. This place is real picky about the dress code. So, whatever we catch them doing all 3 of those things. You can't, and if you do any one of those things, maybe you kind of like get away with it. We turn our head, but God knows they were doing all 3 of those things. So, the managers are like, hey, we have to go send somebody over. So they pick my crummy ass and send me over there. And I go over there and I'm trying to be nice about. I'm like, look, guys, like you're over here and we respect that, but like there's like 3 things that you can't do, and you're somehow doing all 3 of them. So while I'm telling them, hey guys, you can't do this, one dude sneaks up behind me, pulls ice out of his drink bucket, pours it on my back. So I'm about to go ballistic. Like I'm about to be like, yo, look, one of you's gonna get kicked in the head. But I do my best to stay calm. I run over and I tell the manager, I'm like, hey, look, like here's the deal. If we don't get these guys kicked out, because when you're in the VIP section, you're untouchable. You can do whatever you want. Basically, you get an apology or you give an apology, and you're good for the rest of the day. But I'm like, hey, look, if we don't deal with this right now, they're gone. So the manager pulls the guy who did it outside, and he's crying up a storm. He's, well, your other security guy was rude to me, and whatever. So the manager was like, well, did you pour ice on our security guard? And he was like, no, I did it to the other security guards. They kind of like dug his own grave sort of thing. And it's like, you guys are ridiculous. You couldn't have just said sorry. And I mean, I wanted him gone anyway, but if I really dug into my memory banks, man, I could tell you all kind of weird, crazy things that happened.
Bro, I'm surprised that you were able to keep it together when he poured the ice down your back.
Yeah, honestly, I am too. I was really upset. They told me, the management told me later on, like, yeah, you handled that really well. And I was like, I gotta get a raise here soon. I'm gonna die.
Do they know you're a fighter?
Oh, they know I'm a fighter, and that's probably why they asked me. That's probably why they're so thankful that I kept it together. Is because they're like, probably like you're liable to kill somebody here if we don't pay attention.
Oh, that's hilarious. So speaking of getting it in, is it hard for you to find training partners at your size?
No, I have Linton, I have Volkan. I mean, Linton Vassell, Volkan Ozdemir, Stefan Struve. I just came into the gym today. We just had Alan Crowder back in. He fights for the UFC. So I don't want to say it's hard. I mean, it's not the easiest. I'm sure it's not as easy as it would be to find like a lightweight or a welterweight partner. But no, that said, to say it would be hard would be remiss of me. I mean, sometimes the stars don't all align. Sometimes we can't get more than a couple big guys in here at a time. But ever since I moved to Florida, no, it's been a dream down here. Luckily, I've always had good training partners that were above 185.
Awesome. Beautiful. Well, your opponent is making his pro debut. Does that make this matchup a little tougher for you since there isn't so much film on him to review?
Not really. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would have really liked some film to kind of see what he likes to do. But at the end of the day, it's really just about what I do. It's always about what I set my mind to when I step into the cage. So.
Do you do a lot of visualization before your fights?
Absolutely. I probably do. For every hour in the gym, I probably spend 20 minutes sitting down, really thinking about not just what I'm going to do in the fight, but I make a plan before I go to the gym a lot of times, and I'll think about like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to try to execute today. This is what I'm going to try to work on. And sometimes it results in me getting better. Sometimes it results in me getting my ass beat. So if you want me to be honest with you, you can't always make mistakes in a room of this caliber and come away scotch-free. But no, that said, having a room like this to correct your mistakes, to constantly have to make improvements off the rip like that has just been nothing but good for me. So as frustrating as it is sometimes, I mean, there's days when I walk out of this gym wanting to pull my hair out. It's really, I really feel like give me a culture where I could grow.
So how have you seen this fight going?
Steven Mowry with his hand raised.
That's it. Bottom line.
Yeah, I don't do predictions. I don't do call outs. I don't do methods. I don't do times. I don't do any of that. I just always bet on myself.
So you're just above all visualizing getting your hand raised at the end. You're not worried about how you get it done.
One thing that I really tried to work on for this camp, and I mean, I would say the last maybe 3 fights was I always kind of attached myself to the outcome a lot, and yeah, I mean, it worked out pretty well for me. But one thing I really am trying to do is, yeah, I'm not, I mean, God's been good to me. I've been blessed. But one thing that my coaches really pushed on me, and one thing that I kind of see that stands out amongst the best in the world is they don't always attach themselves to the outcome. They attach themselves to the process and to the method. So they don't necessarily wake up thinking like, oh, I got to win the fight. I got to win the fight. I got to win the fight. And obviously, everybody wants to win the fight. I don't know anybody that stepped into the cage like, okay, well, I'm just gonna show up, lose, and go home. Like I don't know anybody that's like that. Maybe I do know somebody that's like that, but they never said that. But no. Anyway, I don't try to attach myself to a method or to a victory mode. I try to attach myself to, okay, well, I'm going to go in there and execute this technique. I'm going to go in there and execute these concepts. I'm going to go in there and execute this style. I'm going to go in there and execute this combination, this takedown, this submission, this, whatever, this sequence. And, the more you attach yourself to, what you're actually going to do, what you're going to do to execute, I feel like the result and the method will follow.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned before, you're undefeated, 3-0. You've got 3 finishes. So what's the goal for the end of 2018?
The end of 2000. Man, I don't know what I'm doing an hour from now into 2018. No, I don't know. Keep getting my hand raised, keep winning, keep glorifying God, keep improving, keep becoming a better fighter every chance that I get, and hopefully it'll pan out for me in a positive way.
I've heard you mention God a few times throughout this interview. Are you a big religious guy?
Religious is a funny word, but I'm a Christian.
It is a funny word, right? That's a funny way of putting it.
People are really funny about the word religious. But religious means different things to different people.
Exactly. Are you spiritual, I guess? Is that a little bit better way to put it?
I'm spiritual. I'm a Christian. I think so. Whenever I think religion, I don't think go to church. When I hear religion, I think like you follow all these weird rituals and you follow these sets of rules, and in your own head you're trying to buy your way to salvation or buy your way to enlightenment. And I don't really think that's how I don't really think that's especially in Christianity, I don't really think that's how it works. You're supposed to develop a one-on-one relationship with Jesus, and you're supposed to live out his will for your life according to how God the Father would have you do it. So that said, whenever I think religion, I think, I'm going to do this on Sunday and this on this, blah, 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 blah. And I don't, like I said, I really can't stress enough. I just don't think that's how it works. I think you're supposed to cultivate within yourself, growth in these different spiritual tenets and these different tenets that you learn from having that kind of relationship, and then you grow from there.
Man, yeah, I like that perspective. So I'm curious if you think the UFC is in need of some new faces at the heavyweight division.
I mean, if they want to give old Stevie Bear a call, then we can have a conversation. But no, I mean, the sport's growing in such a rapid rate right now that that it's always looking for new faces. And it's just funny how the current standard is always changing. Like 3 years ago, the landscape of every division was totally different than it is right now. Even like just with what happened over the weekend, I was texting my younger brother about it. My younger brother texted me and he's like, "What's the over/under on Holloway winning?" And I was like, "Dude, Holloway's gonna get killed." But then like, I know my brother and I were too alike. So like, I think about 2 minutes passed before I was like, "Okay, but what if he does win?" And he was like, "I know, right? Like, what does that do to the title picture? Like, who does he fight next? Does he fight Ortega at 45? Does he fight Tony at 55? Does he fight Conor at 55? Does he fight Conor at 45?" It's like, oh my gosh, we probably went back and forth for an hour about like, oh my gosh, could you think about it? You know what I mean? Like remember, I think I could think of the last time a big shakeup like this happened in a division in a way that made sense was at 85. So remember when Tim Boetsch knocked out Yushin Okami?
Oh yes.
So Tim Boetsch punched his way right back into relevancy by knocking out Yushin Okami. It was insane. You know what I mean? He won on. I think he put a couple fights together at that point too, a couple wins. So
he was rolling. Yeah.
So he was rolling at that point, right? They threw him in there with him being him being Tim Boach. They threw Tim Boach in with, I want to say Costa Philippou.
Ooh, yeah, I think you're right.
My timeline might be wrong there, but anyway, the point still stands. He fought Costa Philippou and lost. So it was like a weird thing where like everything got just thrown out the window. Like the whole title picture got eradicated. So like that's the beautiful thing about the sport. To answer your question is, yeah, like the UFC is always looking for new faces, and I think that maybe not being in the spotlight just because it's not the marquee division, not like you're 185, you're 55, you're 45. It's not a marquee division like that necessarily, but the heavyweight division rather, the heavyweight division, if you really pay attention, I think on the back burner definitely changes the most. So it's just crazy to see how Alexander Volkov, who I mean, the last time I remember hearing about Alexander Volkov before he came back and fought, the last time I remember hearing about Alexander Volkov before he fought, who's the first dude he fought in the UFC? I can't think of it. Timmy Johnson.
Mm-hmm. Tim Johnson.
The last time I remember hearing about him before that was, I want to say he was in Bellator. So I mean, he disappeared. He fought in Russia a couple times, and I didn't follow him while he was in Russia, to be honest with you. But the next time I heard about Alexander Volkov, he beat Roy Nelson, and then he was slated to fight Stephan. So I was like, it's just crazy how he did his thing for a couple of years, came back, and now he's realistically he's probably next in line for a title shot.
Right, man. Yeah, it's pretty interesting the way the ball can roll in the UFC for sure.
Oh, definitely. And to build on your point, I think with the UFC, you're just constantly seeing different guys put it together, and it's the UFC. The heavyweights are becoming older in their prime. You know what I mean? We have guys. I think this statistic is old, but I think if the median age of top 10 UFC heavyweights is 34, and if you would have went back in time to 1985 and been like, hey, the prime big dudes, the prime age that they're going to be fighting at is 35, they would have looked at you like you had 5 heads. They'd have been like, what on earth are you talking about? No athlete can compete at the highest level once they get past 30. And I mean, if you look at the landscape of not even just the heavyweight division, a lot of these guys in the UFC are 32, 33, and they're just starting to hit their stride. It's just crazy to see right now.
Yeah, it is. It is. Are you looking forward to the opportunity at mixing it up with some of those guys in the division?
I'm not worried about them right now, to be honest with you. Saeed's almost the first thing I got to get out of the way.
I love it. Absolutely. Take care of that business first, right?
That's right.
All right, man. Well, Steve, I appreciate your time, man. It's been awesome to get to know you a little bit before your fight. I know it's fight week for you, so I appreciate the time this morning, man.
I appreciate you. Thank you for calling.
Absolutely, brother. Well, as I said, you guys be sure to tune in this Friday, April 6th on UFC Fight Pass. It's going to be our boy, Steve Mowry. Don't miss it. Let
me hit a plug real quick.
Go ahead, brother. Whatever you want.
What's up, guys? I want to make sure everybody follows me on my social media. I'm on Twitter at TallSteve1992. I'm on Instagram at TallSteveFightsPeople. I'd like to thank all my coaches, all my training partners, my management, Janus Sports, all my sponsors. I can't wait to go out there and impress you guys. I'll see you Friday.